Friends, Americans, countrymen, lend me your ears. It seems our tariff-happy president is at it again, slapping new import taxes on goods from our allies and rivals alike. The stated goal? You guessed it, to protect American jobs and industries. Because nothing says strong economy quite like making everyday goods more expensive for hard-working families. But amidst this tariff free-for-all, there's one glaring omission that's got everyone scratching their heads: Russia. Yes, you heard that right. The country that invaded its neighbor committed unspeakable atrocities and is currently the target of unprecedented sanctions from the West is somehow exempt from these new tariffs. It's enough to make you wonder if someone spiked the White House water cooler with vodka. So what gives? Buckle up, Buttercup, because we're about to dive headfirst into the curious case of Russia's tariff exemption. This isn't just some arcane trade dispute, folks. This is about geopolitics, hypocrisy, and the fine art of the deal, Trump style. So grab your decoder rings and your cynicism detectors, because things are about to get interesting. Now, the official line from the White House is that existing sanctions on Russia already limit trade so much that new tariffs would be pointless. It's like saying you're not going to give a speeding ticket to a bank robber because, well, they've already broken enough laws. The logic here is about as solid as a chocolate fire escape. For starters, the US still imported $3.5 billion worth of goods from Russia in 2024. That's billion with a B. Sure, it's mostly fertilizer, nuclear fuel and some metals, but it's not exactly chump change. And let's not forget that the US has slapped tariffs on countries with far less trade than that. So what's the real reason for Russia's exemption? Well, some speculate it's a goodwill gesture to Putin, a way to keep those lines of communication open while trying to broker a peace deal in Ukraine. Others whisper about potential backroom deals, perhaps involving access to Russia's vast natural resources. Whatever the reason, one thing's for sure: it stinks worse than a week-old borscht. Meanwhile, on the other side of this geopolitical tragicomedy, we have Ukraine. You know, the country that's actually being invaded by Russia, the one fighting tooth and nail for its very survival. Well, guess what? They're not exempt from the tariffs. In fact, they're facing a 10% tariff on their exports to the US, which might not sound like much, but it's a real kick in the pants for a war-torn economy struggling to stay afloat. It's like watching your house burn down while your neighbor charges you rent for the garden hose. And what does Russia have to say about all this? Well, their state-run media is having a field day, of course. They're portraying the exemption as a sign of weakness, proof that the sanctions are backfiring and that the US is turning on its allies while going soft on Russia. It's enough to make you wonder who's writing the script over there. But here's the kicker, folks. While the tariffs might seem like a head-scratcher on the surface, they're actually a tiny piece in a much larger, more complex geopolitical chess game. A game where the stakes are incredibly high, the players are ruthless, and the rules are made up as they go along. You see, Trump has always had a soft spot for Putin. He admires his strongman persona, his willingness to flout international norms, and his ability to get away with just about anything. And now that he's back in the White House, he's determined to end the war in Ukraine, even if it means cutting deals with the devil himself. So, where does that leave us? Well, with more questions than answers as usual. Are these tariffs just a bargaining chip in a high-stakes negotiation? Is Trump playing four-dimensional chess while the rest of us are stuck in checkers? Or is this just another example of his impulsive, incoherent foreign policy? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, it's going to be one hell of a show, and you can bet your bottom dollar that we'll be here to cover every twist and turn. Stay tuned, folks.